Good evening. Welcome to the Wyndham Raymond School District Board of Directors meeting. It's Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. We are in the Jordan Small Middle School gym. It is 6:30 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Jessica Bridges. Jessica Bridges.
Here.
Kenny Butler. Jody Carroll.
Here.
Caitlin Downs.
Here.
Mark Savani.
Here.
Chad Jewell.
Here.
Jill Kellner. Here. Grace Levitt.
Here.
Christina Small.
Here.
Jolene Bailey.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Now, and I seem to have a really hot mic tonight, but there isn't an agenda change tonight.
Okay, now it's time for public input. The purpose of public input is to provide an opportunity to address the board on matters specific to our schools and educational matters. All other comments beyond that scope are not appropriate for this meeting. The board will listen carefully to all members of the public, but will not respond. Speakers are expected to follow rules of common decency and decorum. Interrupting any speaker or board member during commentary is not allowed. We ask that all speakers address the board, not the audience. Each person will be permitted to address the board one time during public comment with a maximum speaking time of 3 minutes. Sharing time with another speaker is not permitted. I will alert the speaker at the 3-minute mark. If speakers do not complete their comments within the allotted 3 minutes, they may submit a written statement to the board. Written statements are also accepted from those who do not wish to speak publicly. Requests for information or concerns that require further research will be noted and referred to the superintendent for further action if necessary. Discussion of matters involving individual students is not permitted during public comment due to the privacy, confidentiality, and due process rights of any RSU 14 student. Comments regarding any individual staff, either by name or specifically identifiable by position, are not permitted. If the comment continues, the mic will be turned off. Complaints about any district employee should follow the process outlined in policy KEB, public complaints about school personnel, and are not permitted during public comment. We ask that all adults shall share their first and last name and the town they reside in. Students are only required to share their first name. Thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to hearing from you. Is there anybody who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to superintendent's report.
Let me try this other microphone, see if it's a little bit better. A couple of quick things to share tonight. First of all, I just want to thank all of the RSU 14 staff members for an outstanding start to school. We have had a great start. It's been nice having kids back in the building, getting buildings back in routines. But I just want to recognize the effort on all of our staff members on making sure that that start has been as smooth as possible for kids and also for the other staff members that work around them. So just a huge thank you to them for that. In addition, I'd like to recognize a student tonight. Each year, 1.6 million juniors from 21,000 high schools enter the National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the PSAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test in the fall. This year, 16,000 students, or 1% of all test takers, were selected as semifinalists. And Carter Engelman from Wyndham High School was one of 53 Maine students to be selected as a 2025 finalist. And just congratulate him. It's a huge, huge achievement in order to be able to do that. That also makes him eligible now to go on to the finalists. And just semifinalists and finalists, there can be tremendous benefits to students as far as college tuition and other merit scholarships that are offered to them, just being based on just being a semifinalist, but then being a finalist as well. So huge, huge achievement for Carter. So congratulations for that. And then lastly, we've got a big day Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and the board members have included for you the program for Saturday morning, and which will be celebrating the groundbreaking for our new Wyndham Raymond Middle School. Just want to highlight some of the speakers that will be speaking. Board of Directors Chair Christina Small will be giving remarks, as will Mark Morrison from the Wyndham Town Council, Ralph Olson from the Raymond Select Board, Scott McLean on behalf of the Building Committee, and then our Deputy Commissioner for the Maine Department of Education, Jan Schuda, will also be speaking on Saturday morning. And then we'll have a chance to do the traditional groundbreaking ceremony photos with shovels and the pile of dirt And I know I've had a couple of questions from the public about we're doing the groundbreaking now, but haven't they already broke ground? In a time where we were unsure about when our main DEP permit would actually come through, we had to set a date, and the permit came, and actually the day the permit arrived, Shaw Brothers had vehicles and trucks on the site that very afternoon because they were anxious to get started. So we're going to celebrate. We're going to chance to see, and if you've not been by the site lately in the last 3 weeks, tremendous amount of work that's been done. Also, just want to call out for board members on the backside of your programs, all the individuals who've served on the building committee, board of directors, Raymond Select Board, and the Wyndham Town Council members. And then again, at the bottom, all the logos of the companies so far that have contributed to this project. So we're excited about getting this up and running. And just a quick building update. We are at 75% of construction documents right now, which means that we're gone back out for estimating. We'll be meeting in the next week or so to look at where we fell with the estimates. My initial conversation with the architect would continue to be right on budget. And that will then prepare us for 100% construction documents sometime in November, and which will again get ready to go out to bid. This past week, Bill and I and Chris Streifel and Joe Britton and Lance participated in interviews for our commissioning agent. And simply put, for a commissioning agent, they're the group that you hire to make sure that everything works when you build a building. So they're responsible for making sure the heating plant works, all the electrical stuff works, the IT stuff works, and they hold that responsibility. So we're excited. We're starting negotiations with the company. And we'll be able to announce that once we finalize negotiations. But also just a big thank you to Chris Streifel, who is a facilities manager up at Bates. He's one of the community members on our building committee. He served in interviews for commissioning agent, also served in interviews for our clerk of the works, and has been a super helpful, insightful person in that process. So big thank you to Chris for that help.
Okay, next item is board roundtable. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Go ahead, March.
Vocational schools, we will start our meetings for this year on October 10th will be the first meeting, and that is for PASS and Westbrook Regional Vocational School. So excited to see what's been happening there. The other thing that I want the public to know is the backpack program, which is the weekend food that goes home for students. We'll be starting the first week of October. So we will all be there to pack that Tuesday, and the bag should be going home to the students by the end of that week, and we will carry it on through the school year. The other thing I want to remind folks, in case I forget later, is whenever there's a school vacation or anything, especially in Wyndham, I have not been able to contact anybody in Raymond, but in Wyndham, the food pantry has agreed any of those families are free to come down there at any particular time that they need food. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Jody.
Yeah, so I just wanted to circle back on the request that we made from our main meeting around academic achievement. We made a request around several areas for I-ready testing. And so just want to get an update on when we're going to see that. I-ready testing has been completed again. We've had another round of testing, and it feels like that commitment slipped away. So I'd like to see what that looks like. In terms of the I-ready spring data, we were committed at least a report or some type of connection around that. So future agenda item, I'm not sure what the request is. But we talked about that in a recent meeting and have that as an item.
Sure, I'll check in with Christine Husser on that. Thanks. Anyone else? Go ahead, Grace.
Just very briefly, I did attend the regional meeting of the School Board Association representatives discussing the proposed resolutions to the School Board Associations that you had seen previously. And just there was really good discussion. There may be some changes to what was proposed. So I would just ask that if there are any changes, it's going to the Resolutions Committee next and then to the School Board Association Board. And so if there are some changes that come back to us, if there's a little bit of time on the October 16th agenda prior to the meeting on the 19th, that would be helpful just to be sure that we're all aware and all in agreement with whatever gets changed there. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Okay, we will move on to committee reports, finance. Charlotte, finance meet this evening.
Sorry. Yes, Finance Committee, we just met for the first meeting of this school year, and we had good conversation regarding the funding of the new middle school and laying out the financial plans for that moving forward so we can start thinking about future budgets. And believe it or not, we're already talking about fiscal year 26 budgeting. Hard to believe, but yes, we start talking about that a year in advance. And, you know, talking about making sure that we are have good communication with the taxpayers of both towns so they know what's going on. And that we're kind of in a looking at a year where it's going to be kind of a lull between paying off Wyndham High School and then before we start payments on the new school. So, and how do we manage through that? So looking forward to some great meetings that we work on throughout the year and doing some, having some good conversations and informing the public of what we're working on, what we're looking at, and how we can continue to uphold the proper financial protocols for the school and the taxpayers. Thank you. Facilities.
Our next meeting is October 1st.
Policy.
So we met September 9th and finalized the policy for you to take a look at tonight. That's on the agenda. We'll meet every 2 weeks this year. Last year we did meet every week. We've decided as a committee to meet every other week. And the next meeting we will meet on the 23rd. Anyone wants to join us, we're in the superintendent's conference room on Monday mornings. And we're going to work on JRA notification of rights under FERPA, homeschooling policies for the district. And we're going to work to finalize that student code of conduct policy for you to take a look at as well.
Thank you. Curriculum.
Yes, so we met tonight as well. It was our first curriculum meeting. The topic was Summer Academy and Summer Credit Recovery. We heard from Ryan Karen, the principal at Wyndham High School, and Kaylee Petros, who was the instructional leader from Wyndham Primary School. Both shared program details, content, and success of the programming. Their full presentation and minutes will be on the website review. As well, just a couple challenges that they mentioned was transportation, because there was no transportation. It made it very difficult for a lot of the kids to come to those summer academies, along with the possibility of, they had some tuition assistance, but not a whole lot. Our next meeting is going to be October 23rd, where we're going to discuss the iReady data for the fall review and plans for action for the schools.
Thank you. Next up, we are report of the secretary. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes of the September 4th, 2024 meeting.
Second. More discussion? All those in favor?
We need to do a roll call vote. Jessica Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Jody Carroll,
Yes.
Caitlin Downs,
Yes.
Mark Scavone,
Yes.
Charlotte Rule,
Yes.
Joe Kellner, Grace Levitt,
Yes.
Christina Small.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item, policy. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the first revised read of policy GCOC, evaluation of administrative staff.
Second.
Public comment or discussion? All those in favor?
Do you want me to review? Anybody have any questions? I apologize, Jim. Go ahead. No worries. I think we're all set. We can. Anybody have any questions? So I'll just give a quick top line. Then last reviewed in 2008. And essentially, this particular policy was part of the previous manuals for Wyndham and Raymond. Superintendent sent a note out about this one. The companion policy to this is GCOA, which is around evaluating teachers and principals this GCOC has essentially been updated for legal around the statute that designates that the district needs to have an evaluation model, and that the superintendent and GCOA's responsibility is assigned there. This is really talking about the district's responsibility to have a model and to provide opportunities for evaluation.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Jess Bridges,
Yes.
Jenny Butler,
Yes.
Jody Carroll.
Yep.
Caitlin Downs,
Yes.
Marge Cavoni,
Yes.
Shar Jewel,
Yes.
Joe Kellner, Grace Levitt,
Yes.
Christina Small.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item, extended learning opportunities. With Lorraine, welcome to the microphone.
There, just a little push the button there. I'll let them get set up, just as a simple slideshow, and then I'll introduce a little bit about the program, and then I have an exciting 6-minute video to show you. My name is Lorraine Blozak, and I am the Director of Community Connections for the school district. My office is located in the high school, and I act because I act as the Senior Capstone Project Coordinator. And I also act as the Extended Learning Opportunities Coordinator, also called ELO. And really briefly, for those who may not know what an ELO is, it's an opportunity for students to explore a career in an outside setting, outside the classroom. And they meet with a community business partner, and they can gain academic elective credit through that. ELOs they have been around in Maine. I'm going to just take a guess here, but I think it's been about 9 years or 10 years or so, but very sporadically. I know that the longest high schools that have been participating in this program have been Sanford, Portland, and South Portland. And I think it was, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago that the previous director of community connections started to implement, start to talk about and implement the ELO program then. And then so as this was growing throughout the state, not only with Wyndham High School, but there were other high schools that were interested in participating in this, the Department of Education was starting to realize the value of extended learning opportunities and students getting out into the community, working with business partners and gaining real, true life experience and getting academic credit for it. So they were trying to find a way to help promote this and to help high schools to bring this into their schools and make a successful program. And as a result of ESRA, the Department of Ed did receive quite a bit of funding from that program. And so they decided to funnel that through a grant process to help those high schools possibly participate in the program and have funding to do so. Mainly to hire ELO coordinators, and to help coordinate and implement the program. And so in May 2022, we applied for the grant. I think I couldn't look up how many other high schools did apply, but we did apply in May 2022 and received the grant in July 2022. And it was a 2-year grant. Although I was already an ELO coordinator, so that the funding didn't really come to me, but I applied for the grant because I wanted to offer opportunities like transportation, because transportation is a very difficult thing. Field trips, which we have provided for. We also have provided guest speakers to come in, quite a few. We have also invited businesses to come in and who are managers and owners, and they have spent the whole day providing mock interviews for students. And this has been a very good engagement opportunity for both the community and the students to have real life experience, especially in getting interview practice. So it was 2 years ago when we did receive this grant that we had 2 students who had started this experience, this ELO experience. And so Ms. Fournier and I and 2 they are currently 2023 graduates. They have been out for a while. We came and they shared their ELO experience so that you would know a little bit more about it. And those 2 individuals who shared their experiences was Masha Yurkovich, and she did a career exploration in journalism. And to this day, she still writes as a freelance writer for the Wyndham Eagle, and the Wyndham Eagle was her community mentor. The other person that spoke that evening 2 years ago was Greta Paulding, and she wanted to do a career exploration in civil engineering. So we reached out to the town of Wyndham, and she worked with the town of Wyndham civil engineer. And it was such a good, they even actually paid her a stipend. So she got a paid stipend while gaining academic credit. And it was such a good match that they actually have hired her the past 3 summers. And but what was really interesting about this experience for her is that she was gung-ho. She wanted to be a civil engineer. But after having that experience and being exposed to town planning and the marketing in town planning, she decided that civil engineering was not what she wanted to do, and that town planning and marketing was her cup of tea. So I did reach out to her today and I go, "Are you still thinking that?" She goes, "Yes, absolutely. I'm still really into marketing. I'm still really into planning, but I'm thinking maybe nonprofit and not a government agency." So anyway, that was an interesting conversation. But anyway, the grant application, or the grant, was for 2 years. And it was a lot of us, not just us, but a lot of us within the state of Maine who applied and received this grant it took us a little while to get the program running. So we had some funding left over in 2024. The DOE took a look at it and they offered a grant extension, and of which we applied for and received. And so we have funding available to us until October 2025. So we're excited about that. Okay, so there are principles and standards that go along with the experience, and students must meet the 21st century life and career ready standards and are graded on the guiding principles that each high school student is expected by the Maine DOE to learn prior to graduation. So in 2 years, we have had 49 students who have participated in the program, and we've had all kinds of interesting career exploration experiences. And we're going to showcase a few here. The first one here is Eric Bowen. He did career exploration in barbering, and his community mentor was Crow's Nest, and he is working there today, as you can see in the film. The next person is Connor Bell. He did a career exploration in aviation. His community mentor was Mac Air out of South Portland. He does have his pilot's license right now, and today he is getting he's working on his commercial license. He really wants to be a commercial pilot. The next person is Chloe Edwards. She did her career exploration in law enforcement, and her community mentor was Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. She also graduated in last year, or 2024, and she is at Thomas College right now getting a degree in criminal justice. And then I'm really disappointed that Jolene couldn't make it tonight, because she has participated in 2 ELOs. The first one was in journalism, and again, the community mentor was the Wyndham Eagle. And the second ELO that she did was family law and child advocacy. And so her community mentor was with, as you can see, Bill Diamond with Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, if you're aware of his organization. And the girl that is next to her, the student that is next to her, she participated in this event with us. It was an opening event at the State House and to promote Walk a Mile in Their Shoes. And her name is Emma Eaton, and she did an ELO in paralegal studies. I just want to, before we see the film, I'm rushing through this, and if you want to see a little bit more and read in more detail, I have created an Adventures in Education website. It not only entails all about the ELO, but it also has all the documents and requirements of the capstone project. And if you want to peruse that website, please do so. It's on the RSU 14 website, Wyndham High School Academics. And this has been a fun, very successful 2 years, I have to say, but it took a team to do this. And I am so very grateful to the community business partners who have eagerly, and I mean, I haven't had hardly anybody say no to me. They want to be engaged with the students. So that part has been very, very successful. And then I am going to have to introduce the most amazing ELO team that has supported me through all of this. And I want to give a big thank you to Adrienne Sheetenhelm. She's the Alternative Pathways chair. I call her my chair leader. And then there is Carrie Kowalczyk. I hope I pronounced that okay. She is the college and career specialist at the high school. And then we have Jen Dumont. She is our JMG specialist. And then we have a very, very supportive member of the program, Melissa Dubois. She's a health teacher. And we have been, the Wyndham admin have been so supportive and have helped us celebrate these students along the way. So I want to thank you too. And then of course, the admin at Central Office, they have been, I've asked them questions too. And so they have helped along the way. So a big, big thank you. So now I'm going to show you the ELO video that where did he go? Created. But I couldn't have done this without the help, the creative genius of Gary Harriman. So, and without further ado, here's a 6-minute video.
The basis of this opportunity for executives of choices non-traditional way outside the classroom setting and provides hands-on experiences. They're not limited to volunteering, job shadowing, interning, working, or interviewing experts in your field of study. All of this can be done while gaining academic credit. ELOs require the support of local communities and are designed to highlight local expertise, expose students to career options in their communities, and offer real-life experiences.
I chose to do an ELO because I wanted to reach out to the community more and see what I could do out in the community and basically reach out to someone who I was inside of high school so I could get what I wanted to do to start it. I chose that doing because I really have enjoyed art my entire high school career, and art has been like one of my biggest hobbies and one of the only things that I really thought I was really good at in high school. So I did ELO because I thought it would be nice to reach out to the people in the community and see what it was actually like in the shop and not just seeing what it was like the tattoo, but rather in the shop and like with other people.
So the extended learning program through Wyndham is beneficial for small businesses like myself to be able to meet students that are looking in the career specific to what they want. It opened up my eyes just as an artist for the longest time, just wanting to do it by myself. But then that door opened when I got the phone call from the teacher in the school to be able to expand the opportunity to teach more than just myself, but the community as well. And this opportunity allowed me to find a new employee for my business through this program. It was a very cool opportunity to be able to bring on a student from high school to allow.
I chose to do an ELO because it's something I could gain credit for school, and like it got me into furthering my career in something that I wanted to check out outside of school. So it gave me an opportunity to do that before I went and did it in the real world before graduating high school. And I was able to get help along the way from the ELO team, and I was able to gain credit for it in school. During the ELO, I was able to, further my career in barbering, and I was able to, at the time, I applied for my apprenticeship license, and I was able to get in the shop more often and get more time in here, and all of, doing it through the school as well. Well, I've been cutting Eric's hair for a good 3 or 4 years, and he seemed like a great kid. Every time he came to the shop, he always brought a good energy, and he kind of leaned into the interest in being a barber. I remember getting a text message from him, probably 8 o'clock at night. He was saying how he looked up all the things to be an apprentice and everything, and he looked me in my eye, and he said he really thought he could do it while going through high school. I thought he was crazy, but every time he came to the shop and stuff, he proved us wrong more and more and more. I think it's always good for local businesses to be a good part of the community, and I think it starts from the ground up. I really do. I think it also gives students and younger folks a chance to explore interests that they may not have the opportunity to later on in life. So I think it's a great program.
We have 122 associates at our facility in Raymond. It is an aging workforce. Getting an opportunity at 16, 17, 18 years old to dip your toe in the workforce and, getting familiar with requirements of maintaining a career and possibly even looking at that internship program as a future career path. Saber's unique. It's pretty impressive to see how many trades and specific skills are under one roof. We have mechanical installs, electrical installs. We have similar to rough carpentry, and then some very detail-oriented millwork. Lamination, my corner is pretty interesting. It's a little like body work. It's a little like masonry in regard to working with materials with set time and working time. At the end of the day, it takes 3 skilled people to make a 45-foot column in 12 days. We have an individual right now in my corner of lamination is working up fantastic. This is my second summer with the student, and I see a definite future. The workforce is our backbone, and having an opportunity to get younger folks coming in and shouldering up with seasoned individuals, and hopefully some of that experience and skill set is being invested in say, the newer generation.
The first step is to complete an ELO application and submit it to Ms. Lozak, your ELO coordinator. Once the application has been accepted, we will meet with Ms. Lozak to develop an essential question and goals for your learning experience. It is in this way you will help develop your ELO curriculum. The ELOs consist of weekly reflections based upon the essential question and learning goals. These reflections can come in many forms that include blogs, journals, or videos. You will also meet with Ms. Lozak on a weekly basis. You will be asked to produce a final product which will capture all of your hands-on research, reflections, and learning into one document. Although Google Sites is the most commonly used platform for your final product, other options are accepted. Lastly, you will get to showcase your work. Reflect on your journey and demonstrate the skills and knowledge you gained by presenting to a small team of ELO mentors and educators.
Thank you so much for letting us present this to you tonight. Do you have any questions? Yes.
What grade are students eligible, or is there a certain age or grade they need to be?
Well, we encourage sophomore to seniors. However, we do allow freshmen if they come to me and ask, and it's something they want to do. We had a freshman last year who, and she's continuing on. She's going to go to Japan in March, and she started last year. And so she spoke with Tiana Burton about how to learn Japanese, and so they both reached out to me, and we connected her with the Portland Language Exchange. So she's actually getting a core credit, but through the Wyndham World Languages Curriculum Program. And then it's hard for me to explain, but yes, she's going to get academic credit for that. Yeah, and so she was a freshman, and then we have a freshman right now who has approached me. He wants to be a pastor. So we are doing an ELO in religious studies.
Seeing them work at Sabre and somebody working with horses and such, is this program exempt from child labor laws? And
oh, we definitely, child labor laws are adhered to, and it has to be because of it being a part of our program. If they don't, and we did catch one individual, and I had to call that company. And I had to call them twice, and then finally, I think we just severed the ties. But yes, we do pay attention to that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I had a couple questions.
Okay.
Is this a half credit or a full credit?
It's a half credit per semester. So if they take, like, Jolene took 2 ELOs, so she got a total of 1 credit because she did 1 in journalism, and then the next semester she did child advocacy.
Okay, and this is typically scheduled in the summertime. That's when
No. It's out of the cycle. So everything happens outside of their regular schedule. So they meet with me on a weekly basis during their workshop. So they're not missing any class time. And the meetings with me can last from like 5 minutes to 30 minutes. It's up to them. It depends on if they need to understand their weekly reflection more. It's just, it's a check-in. And that's when I actually check in to see how they're doing. If they are working more hours than they should, and stuff like that. That's the reason for the weekly reflections.
Okay. And is there like a cap per semester how many kids could participate?
Well, we are, I have to get to you on that. Since it's a new program, I'm assuming it's getting more and more and more popular. That is probably a discussion we will have to have in the near future.
Okay. It sounds like for the most part, you are connecting with the student and reaching out to the business. That's the direction.
Yes, either I do or they already have a connection. Like if they have a job, and they want to make, they're thinking about a career, that can be an ELO.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Has the business ever reached out the other directions that, hey, I'd love to have students come?
No, because ELOs are still, people aren't aware of those out in the community unless they've already been engaged with us. So it's still a new concept out into the community. We're trying to get that information out there, like with the video. But yes. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know whether to ask this or not, but I'm just curious if there have been any students interested in an ELO in the field of education, whether.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You'll get it. You might get a kick out of this. We had a student last year who did art teaching. Okay. And then we have 2 this semester. One's doing special education and one is doing elementary ed. And I kind of enjoyed this one, so I'm going to share this with you. We had a student who did art education. She wanted to try middle school to see what it was like. So she worked with the art teacher in Wyndham Middle School. And it was so funny. She goes, no, middle school is not my cup of tea. And I have to tell you, she said this when she did her presentation. She goes, kudos to all of you teachers out there. So she learned, see, those are the things that they learned, and she realized that. And then we also visited the art museum in Portland. That was a field trip that we took, and she got to work with the little children and preschool and up, and she loved it. So she knew from that experience, she knows where she wants to lean. Yeah.
Roger. Yeah, I just have one more question related to your question, actually. What are the limiting factors right now? I mean, I'm 1,000 years old. So when I went to university, I took a co-op, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
very similar to that.
yeah, it sounds very similar to that. Obviously, that was at an age that's beyond high school.
Yeah.
For the experience I had. But in this case, what are the limiting factors to students participating today in terms of how many? So say, how many do you have participating? If I missed that.
Right now, I have a total of 24.
Okay.
But some of those are like working with special ed teachers. So sometimes I don't work with them. You know, like so the limiting factors. Yes, can you help me with that one?
I would say this is the most we've had in terms of the ELO number. So I think this semester will be a good, we'll probably have more feedback for you after we finish this round of students. But in terms of having the process work and be successful, she is one person that's overseeing it. So I think that's a component of it. In regards to, we want to make sure that the connections that we make in the community are positive. So learning to talk about checking in with students, she's also checking in with the business partners and seeing how that experience is working. And does visits with them as well. So I think in terms of managing that and making it be successful, I think we have to look at that number. So I think this is the largest number we've had. It's almost double the amount we've had in the total. So we'll really have an idea of how manageable is that and what we might need as we approach budgets.
Yes, and also, if I give the opportunity, we have the HAL Habits of Work rubric, and I give the community mentors the opportunity to complete that. So I do check in with them and give them a call.
So I just had one follow-up. Have you turned anyone away?
From an ELO?
Yeah. Based on what we just discussed in terms of resources, you haven't had to do that yet, presumably.
No, we haven't ever had it at this point turn anyone away.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been totally, they have applied and decided not to do any ELO.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great problem to have, but just thinking for the future, you mentioned the budget, the grant.
Yes.
So that's great. Just made a note of that. Hopefully that continues to extend based on the model. Just something to think about going into next year. It'd be nice to understand what an expansion would look like as far as, we'd like to go to X number. And the grant covered this today. If the grant went away, it would be this much, which cover 24 students. And then we'd like to expand to 50, but I'm making numbers, but that would require X. As we go into the season, that would be a really interesting model because it's a terrific thing. And to have to limit it by first come, first serve or the older students versus the younger wouldn't feel very probably.
Right. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I wouldn't. It'd be a very, not very fun position to be in. Yeah.
How much is this grant worth? And are there any specifics that come with it? Are there any guidelines that you can use it for this and you can't use it for that? And how does that fit in?
Yeah. The total amount, I think it was, do you remember that total amount? Was it 127?
I think it was 134.
130. Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, I remember now. It was 134. And can you ask your question again? I mean, yes.
Usually grants come with guidelines.
Guidelines,
yeah. This is what it.
Yeah, actually, it did, and it did come with, we could use it for guest speakers, those kinds of things that I just announced. Some have definitely used it for, to give stipends for internships. And so we're allowed to do that in this grant. you know, like there's been times, and not, we haven't had to do this yet, but we have talked about it, where if a student wanted to go somewhere and they didn't have transportation to, you know, give them money, give them a stipend to use, you know, like an Uber or something like that. But we haven't done that yet. Other schools have. That's something that we have never had to face.
Further questions? I think we're all set. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for this opportunity.
Our next item is the district safety team presentation. Not sure which member of the team has opted to go first. The whole team, all right.
Good evening. Now to your wonderful safety team. I'm going to start with introductions. Not everyone is here, but you should see some familiar faces. We have Bob Hickey, Technology Director. He's on the district safety team. We meet weekly, as does Justin Hudner, Officer Hudner, who is last year was serving the middle schools in Manchester, and this year is at the high school. We have Devin Rogers, who is our new elementary school resource officer. Middle school. Sorry, Officer Rob Hamilton, elementary. And Bill Hansen, our facilities director. And in addition, I just wanted to note that Matt Duffy is not here tonight, but we have other folks who are joining us throughout the year. School nursing representatives, administrators. We've met with the transportation directors multiple times, really thinking about how we broaden the scope of our discussion. So we're going to give a brief overview for the public and for the board this evening. The deeper dive, when we talk about school safety and security, will happen in executive session later. We will be reviewing tonight with you all, and members of the board will have a copy of our district emergency operation plan. That is not something we put out for the public for obvious safety reasons, but essentially the plan provides guidelines for all of the schools to follow and staff members and students to understand in many, many different possible emergency situations what they need to do in response. So what the staff member's responsibility is, and each different category, what school emergency response teams need to be doing. And it spells out in a very detailed way what to do in each of these situations. And then the schools practice those on a regular basis. Topics like lockdown, shelter, shelter-in-place fire, if there's threats, written or verbal, and many, many other topics you'll see tonight later on. Each year we do distribute a copy of this to the Wyndham Fire Department, Wyndham Police Department, Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, Raymond Fire and Rescue, RSU 14 administration. So copies get distributed. One comprehensive copy goes to the main office of every school, and then individual classrooms have a school individual emergency response plan that includes things like evacuation routes around the school, standard response protocol that our SROs will go over shortly. But the new addition tonight that we will take a deep dive in executive session is a more extensive detailed transportation emergency response plan. Our current plan, the one last year that we've been using, certainly had a transportation accident response section. And we did have an accident a couple of years ago that we had gone to that plan right away, and then we debriefed with the transportation director at the time and a team of people to really look at in that accident and in this plan, how did it go? Are there any adjustments needed? So this plan is always morphing as we reflect on an incident and think about changes that need to be made. But we realized that the plan didn't cover a wide variety of possible situations that could occur on a school bus or a van. And so we met with Aaron Gant, Transportation Director, who's here tonight, and Sharon Lehman, his co-director, and did the deep dive on many different possible scenarios and how we would respond and the training that they need to do with bus drivers and van drivers to really understand their role in the response to an emergency. As you know, we've got on our team 3 school resource officers. I participate in those weekly meetings, the director of facilities, director of technology. Mike Duffy is the risk and security support specialist, and as I said, representatives from around the district. So I'm going to turn it over to our school resource officer, Hutner, to walk us back through the standard response protocol.
Thank you, Christine. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful Wednesday evening. So like Christina mentioned, we do annual training for all the staff members at every school in RC 14 that goes over the standard response protocol, which is otherwise known as SRP. SRP is something that's in all the schools. We have these posters in every classroom, every area where there's students or staff members in the schools. And in these trainings, like I said, we go over each one of these protocols. For SRP, there's 5 total. The first one, which is hold, is very common in the schools. That can be used for, or basically what it is we need the hallways kept clear. So, for example, that would be, a staff member or a student is having a medical emergency or something to that effect, where the ambulance or rescue needs to come in and we just need the hallways kept clear. And so that's the most commonly used one. We do drills with these as well, and they're like I said, the most common. Next one is a secure. Basically, well, all the schools are always in secure during school hours. It's all the exterior doors are secure, which they all are already. And that is get inside and lock the outside doors are locked. Basically, what that is there's some sort of an emergency or some sort of an event going on outside of the school. So an example I give is, let's say there was a bank robbery in North Window or something, and the suspect takes off and they crash near a Manchester school and they take off on foot. They're not in the school, they're outside the school, but what we would do, obviously we would know about it when we put the school, a Manchester school, in a secure. Meaning nobody goes in the building and nobody comes out until we say so. Next one, I'm sure we all heard about, it's a lockdown. So the secure can quickly turn into a lockdown. And what I mean by that is, let's go back to that example I just gave with the suspect who robbed the bank. Let's say they somehow breached our security and got into our schools, or one of the schools. Then we put the school in a lockdown. And this is one we really take a deep dive into when we're doing these SRP trainings. And basically what that is locks, lights out of sight. And what we train the teachers and staff members is stay inside the building, get as many kids in your room as you can, close your door, lock it. And we've all built for every school window shades for their classroom doors. To close those shades, turn your lights out, and get your kids in a safe spot in that classroom. And in these trainings, we always tell the staff members and the teachers, if they need a hand with that, just go up your window and look inside your classroom. And where you can't see is where you bring you and your students. And you stay there until we get on the intercom and tell you what to do next. And keep those kids as quiet as possible. Obviously, that's the most serious one. In the St. Louis Commission here, we like to, after they've done their review on Sandy Hook, one of the things that they found in testimony and other evidence presented in the commission reveals that there's never been an active shooter which has breached a locked classroom door. So we really try to drive that home. We're giving these trainings to teachers and staff members. It's so important to lock the classroom doors in the event of a lockdown. There's never been a situation where an active shooter has breached a locked classroom door. Next one, after the event of a lockdown, we're going to evacuate the situation, where we evacuate the location. And in that, we tell the staff members basically, law enforcement is in charge, law enforcement and members of the superintendent's office. We basically take over at that point. We tell them, after the lockdown, there's going to be lots of law enforcement officers, there's going to be winter police officers, game wardens, state troopers, everybody's going to be there, and we're going to be in charge, and we're going to evacuate students and staff to the reunification site, which is St. Joseph's Law Schools. And that's in the event of a lockdown, critical incident. And last one is shelter. don't know if we've ever used, we have a shelter once? No, I don't believe so. But this is for an event of a tsunami, an earthquake, something to that effect, where basically, again, we go to the intercom, and we tell staff members and students, you know, we need to take cover, take shelter, and if there's something going on, there's an earthquake or something to that effect. It's something that I wanted to make note of too. This SRP training we also give to members of the Wyndham Police Department, and we're going to eventually do the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office as well in Raymond schools, which is awesome. And all their cruisers are all equipped with master interior keys. So like all the Wyndham Police vehicles, everybody who has a vehicle with the Wyndham Police Department has, and the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department has interior keys to every school in our support team. So in the event of a lockdown, something to that effect, where, like I said, let's say a deputy gets to George Small or something first, they have a key and they can get in here and get anywhere they want to get to. So that was huge. We've done that last couple of years. The safety drills, I think Officer Hamilton wanted to talk about these. Any questions on SRP?
All right, spot. Safety drills. So everybody has to do 10 daily. That's policy and protocol. K through 5, we try and do 10 evacuations, 2 lockdowns, 2 secures. 6 through 8 is 8 evacuations, 2 lockdowns, 2 secures. 9 through 12, 6 evacuations, 2 lockdowns, 2 secures. And as a safety team, we go around and every school has an unannounced. So it's a real life situation. They don't know what's happening. Obviously, we let admin know it's a drill. But the rest of the school doesn't know that it's happening, so we see how they react to a real life scenario.
Yep.
Mr. Hanson.
All right, good evening. Try to keep this relatively short. I think you're pretty familiar with these things we've talked about, but use our hard access into our buildings. Staff are expected to wear these so that they can see them. We've explained to them that if something should happen, these gentlemen would be coming to help us. They're looking for these on our person. If not on our person, it would be part of the problem. So I'm not going to say we're perfect, but we'll try really hard. Most of our staff do a good job of this, but that's why they're like this. And they're actually designed very specifically with 3 breakaways on. It's actually 3 class so that you can't come behind someone and actually use the jump on, because actually this hard to get 3 at once. So this is a little bit of thought put into that. So again, building access is controlled by this. In the event of a lockdown, we can change access levels and access privileges so that it becomes much harder to get in. The great news is that our police department all have card access. They can come anytime they want to. They can come right in using their access badges, which makes it very quickly for all of our buildings. 2-way radios, probably one of the only districts, I think, in the state of Maine with interoperability with Wyndham Fire and Police. I don't do it because I get in trouble, but should I need to, I can go to the police channel. I can call for help on this radio, which is really handy to have that. And I know Michael Dorn came, he was blown away that we had that capability because we've never heard of it. But anyway, this is someone who is an expert in school safety in the world. So that's really pretty awesome.
Bill, just also want to mention that does hit dispatch, which also allows us to hit Cumberland County Sheriff for the Raymond schools.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's really kind of a cool thing. We also have repeaters in our schools in an emergency channel. So literally from my office, I go to emergency channel, I can talk all the way to the end, which is really funny. That goes through the internet of things. Thank you, Bob. Because that's how that all works. It's pretty neat. So intercom and paging, this past year and a half or so, we finally finished voice feedback in 3 of our buildings so that automatic messages can go out when we have an evacuation, which is really great because if it's a lockdown, you may not be able to get to an intercom to say something, but if you initiate it, there's a pre-recorded message that goes out. So it's nice things to that. I mean, cameras, 250. Gosh, for new middle school looking at, we're adding about 200 cameras to that. And 250 probably is the right number because we keep adding more to them as time goes on. We are also looking at some things, the analytics, that actually can start looking at some things for threat evaluation. This gentleman's walking in the wrong coat and some of the kind of big inside of it, they can actually tell us that. So we really kind of need stuff moving too fast for me because changing would be bad. So really cool stuff.
It's
Bill, before you go away, I just have a brief question. If an employee had a badge with an obscured picture, where would they get a new one?
That's an easy question. Thank you for the softball game. So all we need to do if the badge is not in great shape is send some Mike Duffy and myself an email and we will make them a new one. It's important they tell us, is it broken? Is it a bad picture or have they lost it? Because they lose it when it ends up happening. This badge goes away forever when it's lost. Because I don't know what it's going to be. So I hate to tell you this, but I think we have what 600 employees maybe. And I think we're around 6,000 or 7,000 badges over the 10, 12 years. So you can see what the lost and broken rate has been. It's a little somewhat challenging sometimes because it takes time to do that. But should their badge not be correct? Now, I don't inspect all the badges. So if people just reach out to us, we're happy with them.
Thank you.
And you may remember last year, we talked about using and implementing the new Raptor system. So we started, phase 1 was with volunteer management. Volunteers or visitors come to schools. For their first time, they give the person at the main office their driver's license, that gets scanned, and then they're given, if approved, a badge to enter the school. It has a timestamp and it gives us that record of who's in the building. We transitioned in this summer, prior to the start of school, not this summer, the first 2 in-service days. We had a representative from Raptor come and do wonderful training at all of the schools. The safety team participated in all of those. And that was to transition to not only having all of our drills in Raptor, which schedules drills for all of the schools and reminds principals that they have drills coming up and reminds the safety team of drills, but also teaching the staff about the emergency response aspect. Staff can use this as a web-based platform. They can log into Raptor on the web. It has the same standard response protocol icons on the posters that Officer Hudner reviewed with you all. They can put a building either on the web base, or if they decided, they could download the app on their phone and put the entire building into lockdown or a hold, or they could call for team assist. And anytime any staff member initiates any one of those, the safety team and district administration are notified. So it's a very quick way for staff, if they see something suspicious, if there's an emergency that they need to respond to, if they're near a laptop or choose to use their phone, they can immediately respond and notify many different people, including local law enforcement. And so that was an important training. And the next phase for all of the schools is to practice using Raptor this year. So as they're practicing hold in place, secure lockdown drills, to get staff in and use that system so they can become very familiar with how it operates. And safety tools is Bob Hickey.
So safety tools, we have student data privacy agreements, so no software or website is allowed unless we have an agreement for it. We've been tightening down that for the last few years and we're really doing a pretty good job with it. There's 2 entities. One is called the Education Cooperative Tech out of Massachusetts, and they've partnered with Drummond Woodson. Both used to do this service, and then Drummond Woodson realized that they were much better at the legal part, and Tech was better at the detail part. So they partnered, and it's been a win for everybody. 2-factor authentication, that's where you get notices sent to your cell phone, email. And so we tightened down all our applications, and this really helps to keep malware, viruses, all that to a minimum. And also we've done a lot of single sign-on with Google, since Google is the essential blood coursing through our veins all day, every day. We use it for everything, email, Google Classroom, you name it. We now, instead of opening up each individual application that we use, we funnel it through the security of Google. So that's working out really well. Schools and businesses across the country are doing that as well. We have a cyber incident response plan that we leverage with Blue Spruce. They're a local security company out of New Hampshire, and they helped us to develop a response plan so that if we were compromised on a large scale, we have plans to go to, open, and follow sequentially experts to contact, insurance, attorneys, the law, everybody involved in that. We have participated in statewide school tech departments working with CISA, it's a national organization that are the experts in security, all businesses, schools, everyone goes through them. They get the virus definitions there first. So we work closely with them and done tabletop exercises. And that was very good. And it was so inspirational that about half the tech directors and statewide tech directors group have formed a subcommittee of our tech directors group that focuses on just cybersecurity. We meet monthly. We have vendors who are experts in the field come and talk to us. And so we're continuing that. In addition, we have, well, that I just mentioned, cybersecurity, if I read ahead to the next line, yes. So that group, the subsection of the tech directors group, we have, when people are locked out of a website, they say unblock this, it's either unblocked in Sophos or Cisco. We get, we spend a lot of money on Sophos. We have anti-malware, antivirus, email gateway, on and on and on. And then something called NDR, managed detection and response. And that is really essential in this day and age. We have gotten, I have personally gotten phone calls 2:30 in the morning. Gee, somebody's trying to hack into one of your servers and they shut it down immediately. So that has really been invaluable. And unfortunately, it's a lot of money, but it's a necessity in this day and age, not just for schools, but for businesses. And then we get Cisco. It used to be called Umbrella. We got it for free from the state. And now it's the new version was just released this past few months is Cisco Secure Client. So we do that and it puts software on staff and student devices. So even if they're on home network, they're in a hotel or on the road, they still have protection and we can still, control what they can and cannot get to. So that's a necessity as well. We have Gaggle for, it scans the Google document sheets, Google chat files, and alerts counselors and building administrators when there's a student in crisis, something serious going on. I mean, there's a lot of little shenanigans, of course, you have to look, but when the student is really in crisis, you want to know just as soon as possible to get them the services, help, and support they need. And then Parent Square we use for emergency notifications and weather alerts, phone calls, text, emails. So we send school forms through that. So that's an essential part of our safety tools.
It's kind of nice to come up from on the table. Also, something we wanted to include tonight, which I know there's been some questions to the board lately on e-call pass. So I'm going to try to do this without getting my back to everybody. So passes in school, there's not anything new. I went over to Wyndham Middle School today, and this is actually the same form that we were using when I was assistant principal at Wyndham Middle School in 1999. And in those paper pass days, we actually would have students in every classroom sign out their date, their name, destinations where they're going, time in, time out. And it was a paper tracking system. And what would happen with a paper tracking system, let's say, and that's actually the days even before cameras, something happens in a particular restroom and you're trying to figure out when did it happen, who did it. And so as a school administrator, you would then go and collect all the pink sheets and you would start working through the pink sheets and you'd spend half your morning trying to determine, first of all, who was out when and where, and trying to figure out maybe who was in the bathroom, who signed out to a particular spot. As we have moved forward and looking at digital tools that not only can keep our students safe, but also allow us to keep our students in classes as much as possible. Because also with the advent of technology, in the past, I could pass a note to Justin because he's my buddy that sits beside me. In the world of technology, as much now as schools not have cell phones during the school day, kids will send each other emails, they'll send each other things through Google Chat or other pieces, and let's go meet in a certain location at a certain time. So last year, Wyndham High School actually started moving to an e-call pass system. And what it allowed them to do is that, first of all, determine at any given moment in time, something happens in the building, who is out and who's not assigned to a class. So let's say that you do have to have a lockdown or something's going on. You know where all your students are, you know if they're accounted for. In addition, what it allowed them to do is that there are some students that have matters that are pending outside of school against each other. And they shouldn't be in the hallways at the same time. So it allowed them to also set up times that if Justin's out on the pass and I'm not supposed to be anywhere near Justin, that I could set up passes so that I can't go out when Justin's out. And it allows them to set limits that 16, 17 kids can only be out of the restroom at a certain time to keep kids from joining and congregating. But the other pieces that it's allowed us to do is that the paper passes that guidance would have first thing in the morning to have somebody go meet their school counselor. All those things can now be sent out electronically so that the counselors are then sending passes to kids to then say, I need you at a certain time. Or in the event of an emergency, all passes can be shut down so that we don't have kids out in the hall. Obviously, we're doing other pieces through our SRP. But what it's also allowed us to do is that when something happens in the building, we have a roundabout time. We can actually see who was signed out to that location at that particular time. And what I'm hearing from the administrators, because we've now looked to expand it beyond Winton High School to the middle school, what I'm hearing is that it is saving them a tremendous amount of time. Instead of going to, in the high school, there's 82 classrooms. Instead of going to 82 sheets or looking and sending emails out, they can go certain time, who went signed out to the 300-room restroom, or talking to one of the Winton Middle School administrators today. It was able to save them hours of time in order to be able to determine. And I know there's some questions always about where does this data go? Where does it live? Who has access to it? Well, in the past, we had a pink sheet, and any kid who wanted to go with the pink sheet could tell you who was out at what time, where they went to the nurse, they went to the bathroom, they went to this location. The data is actually only accessible to our school administrators, the ones who actually should have that data to determine who was out when. The other piece that Bob talked about, which I think we need to emphasize, is that we are no longer doing business as a school district with any software vendor that will not sign a student data privacy agreement, meaning that they have secure, they can secure all of our student information. They don't sell any of the information, they don't share. They've taken all the steps and protocols in order to do that. This particular company that we use for eHall does have an assigned agreement. One thing that I would say that I would just, good foresight by our administrators is that they've been working with students on the laptop version or the electronic version through a web version. There are schools around us that initially did a rollout via cell phones. So kids would need to have their cell phones in order to be able to access the task. And it's been more difficult for them now to kind of roll back to say, well, we don't want kids using cell phone in class, but now we've set up a system where they've got to use it for a task. What it helps us to do, again, is that we know where our students are in the event of an emergency or something goes on. We know which kids are on the hallway, which kids we need to track them accountable for. We also know that if Justin and I are seen every single day walking the loop in the halls, maybe we need to limit the number of passes that are available for Justin and I to the day, or maybe we limit that Justin and I can't be out in the hallways at the same time. But it's another tool for your administrators to be able to manage the buildings and to really put the focus on their time, not on investigations, on looking at the endless sheets, but time on who was where so that they can then focus on and get to the next issue that they're working on. And I realize that with the concerns about data and privacy and other pieces, this is data that's only available to the individuals who legally should have the information, as far as our school administrators who are then working these problems, working these issues day in, day out as they look to manage our school. It is just one tool that we give our administrators, in addition to things like Gaggle, in addition to the camera software that we give, the number of things that they then have to manage, especially our assistant principals on any given day, is tremendous. So again, it's a tool. Like any tool, there is an implementation time. There's also time we need to train staff. That kids really should be only out in the hallways for a reason. I think right now the limit for kids for passes is like 6 or 7 passes a day, which is generous in the course of a day for non-passing time to be out in the hallways and such, but that can be adjusted over time. And so I had a chance to sit down with Bill and Vanessa and run through some of the reports and just some of the time savers, especially with student services, who used to go out and have kids deliver passes, paper passes, and find all the kids to now be able to electronically connect with the kid and make sure that the paper passes. Just it worked out really, really well. So that's my slide.
Questions? Go ahead, Charlotte.
So great presentation again. It's my fourth time hearing similar presentations every year, so good job, guys. Question regarding what Officer Hudner was covering. What is the repercussion for not only staff, but students who break safety rules as far as like when they're supposed to be doing certain things and they decide not to?
So like, you mean like during a drill or, for instance, somebody props a door, exterior door, something to that effect? So I will tell you this, I've only been in high school for a few weeks now. The middle school actually was great. All those schools I've been to, we have not seen a lot of problems at all, which is awesome. So they've been doing a great job, staff and students. But that being said, it was Monday. We had a couple of students that went out to the car to get some yoga pants or something like that to go in class, and they brought both exterior doors to get out to the park. So I went back, found out who it was, and we, myself and the assistant principal of high school, brought them all in. And it was more of an educational thing than, you messed up, you're in trouble with attention, right? It was this is why we don't do this. This is why we don't prop the doors. This is what can happen. And it's unacceptable, and it can't happen again, right? You have to come in, you have to come in through the main entrance, and this is why. But like I said, that doesn't happen very often. If it does, I know staff members, even students have seen it pull the door shut. So, you know, it's one of those things we try to make it more educational and get it in trouble. But I haven't seen a lot of that recently. As for drills, like when we do lockdown drills, we do try to tell staff, you know, please take these serious. You know, these lockdown drills, we have all the patrolmen who are working that day come in and help out. Right. And that's good because it gets the patrolmen in who, you know, some of the new guys and girls I've worked with this one have never been into the middle school, never been to the field out, never been into the high school. So it's good for them to get in, familiarize themselves with what happened, what's it going to look like in the lockdown, more secure. So we really try to drive that home during these SRP trainings, to please take these seriously. If students aren't taking them seriously, if they're messing around, being loud, again, we bring them in, we talk to them. This is why you cannot do this. Muscle memory is so important in all these protocols for SRP.
Sorry, I've got three more. Don't run away.
Can I add to that, Charlotte?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just wanted, and I know you've all seen this before, but every year we have a list of district safety expectations that all staff must follow. And then the SROs, when they go and do the standard response protocol review, they review those expectations. So I think that repetitive, as you've seen this 4 different times, perhaps that repetition and reinforcement of those expectations is really critical. We have seen huge growth as a result of that. So I think that just needs to be an annual review process.
One question that I bring up to you guys every year is what changes, if any, have been made to securing students during transfer, such as like at Sherry Gagnon Park?
Meaning in the event of an evacuation?
No. Like when
Might actually be a better executive session question.
Okay, all right, cool. And then actually my next question is probably executive session as well. Just one quick one regarding call pass. Is there any way to tell if all staff is being compliant with using the system regularly like they're supposed to? Just curious. Usually with new systems, people are reticent to use it, so wondering about compliance.
I will have to get back to you on that with hearing from the school administrators. I know that why these are so loud tonight. Let's try that. Last year with the high school, it was rolled out partway through the year and did not have as much of a rollout as this year, which is the emphasis that we're accountable to each other and making sure that when kids are out in the hallway, they really need to be out there for a purpose and not just to be out there. And so far this year, things have been a whole lot better in that particular building. Middle school level being brand new, I've heard things have been great as far as people using and being consistent with each other. And again, just to make sure that we know where our kids are and that if kids are out in the hallway and out of a classroom and out of instruction, that they're out there for a purpose.
And I don't know if this is on, is it okay? I want to just give another example. Bill Hanson was talking about the importance of these badges. And I have noticed that the more we've been reviewing those expectations that staff wear them, the other thing is that staff are reviewing with students to never open a door unless you see a staff member. And as I go from Field Allen to Wyndham Middle back, students will not let me in because they don't know me as well as teachers and administrators there. They're looking for this. So I often now show it, and I'm seeing a shift in their response to that expectation as well. Does it happen every time? No. And if it does, and I do get through and they haven't seen it, I remind them of the importance. I typically pull it out of my coat in the winter, but if I don't, I just remind them it's really critical.
I just want to say thanks for doing this tonight. I think it's so important just for the public and also for us to really stay close to this. So I have a couple questions related to one of them, just facilities, Mr. Hanson. Have the shades all been installed that Officer Hudner referred to in terms of blocking the classrooms, or is that kind of like our ADA where it's just an effort ongoing at this point? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, Officer Hudner. It's either or. I mean, to cover both.
Good, there we go. Yeah, so these shades, in most all the schools, in the windows that I'm talking about are in the classroom, the doors that, you know, small. We make those shades and put those up. As for, you know, for instance, some of the libraries have those really big glass windows. I know some of them have the, you know, the correct term, but it's like a tint almost, where, you know, it kind of blocks the view as much as possible. But it's one of those things too, where, you know, we walk by, we like to be able to look in and see what's going on inside the classroom. So, but I could say that we're still working on some of the rooms, still need some of those shades that we make. Should probably open up their own business because they're really nice now. But as for some of the bigger windows, we as a school resource officers can't make those because the pieces of material isn't big enough. But I know that we have put up that tint almost with the glass.
Yeah, I think if you've been in RES, the shade, it's no different when you walk in. So that's one of the areas we notified that we really needed to make improvements. So I wish I could tell you we were perfect. We had every shade up in every place. It is a moving target. These guys did an amazing job building a shade that I think is very effective and also saved us an awful lot of money in the equipment. But there's quite a few spaces now. Some teachers, if they find themselves to put paper over their windows, so they can do very quickly, right? A sheet of paper would cover that window really fast. So there is an alternative, you know, we think on our feet with what's going on. But I think they're probably in the 95 percentile, probably maybe higher than that as far as spaces that have it. And certainly there are people reaching out to say this is an issue for us. The other thing you'll notice is you have our schools in RES now, in high school now, it's actually indicated when you turn outside of the doors that say locked and unlocked. So now you know the status of your door, which is really handy because before some places there were thumb turns without an indicator, where it was a key to do that. In Manchester as well now it's like that. So you can quickly see in those rooms if it's locked or unlocked from the inside. That's generally on the outside, other than bathrooms would be that way. But so we're doing well. Are we perfect? No, but I think we're out well on our way.
So my follow-up question is related to this wasn't what you implied, but you made a comment about the teachers identifying areas. In the new middle school bill, there's been some discussion around identifying places in the room on the floor so that educator, if there's a substitute teacher in there, or someone that wasn't familiar with that room, that they knew exactly where they were going. Is that something that your team could consider looking at as a project to remove that onus from the educator in the rooms?
So yes, in the middle school is being designed in safe zones, and there will be a definite change in pattern. We have not been doing that in new classrooms, but it's actually a renovation of classrooms. It's probably, I'd say, it would be a good practice as we start looking at the effectiveness of doing this in the middle school. So I think that would be another nice step is where, I mean, we're looking at, you know, right now at preschool, for instance, the carpets are 25 years old, most classrooms, and we need to do a refresh. We've been doing refreshes in primary school. The nice thing is we're using more like carpet tile things, so it's easy to make that transition to make those spaces feel, you know, visible. So That's a great suggestion, Joe.
Last one I just had around for Mr. Howell. The email that we got from a member of the public referenced the e-hall pass system flagging limits for time for students out of classrooms, et cetera. I'm not asking you to validate whether that's the case or not, but certainly, can you just comment generally on whether administrators are using that as a tool to identify if a student is either, hey, they left, are they okay? They've left, they were unwell, or it's been a while since they've left. I mean, that's certainly part of the paper pass. Is there a system or some type of flagging or identifier outside of that educator or someone else on that student's team thinking, where did the student go? It's been 15, 20 minutes.
I don't know how much they're using that particular portion of the tool right now, where their time getting into school hasn't necessarily been in just how long kids are out and wandering and things like that. I think it's been more focused on something's happened in the building to try to determine who's been where and when. Something's reported in the, I was at the high school the other day in the quad bathroom. And so looking at a time and who might have been possibly signed out at that particular time. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I can certainly get the information what the time limit that is set for those particular passes. I think it's more than generous at this moment for what students have, but I can get back to the board on that.
It's the implication, I guess, is just generally that that student has left, and certainly wanting to know where they are. They're not in class, not attending clearly. And so understanding if that computer maybe isn't at the door where the case is where they sign out, does an alert come up to the educator in that room or to an administrator in the building? Or, I mean, they work on all class. Where do they go? So that, I think that's just the question. I mean, and it could be for safety reasons where students are kind of, you know, either doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're under duress, or they've gotten distracted.
Yeah, or they found a special somebody and they've gone for a walk and looking to make sure that we're getting kids back into class with that.
What else? Okay, I had a couple questions. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I can hear you, but also chat. Joe, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Evidence suggests it's best practice to limit or eliminate cellular phone possession in school. While it's understood that parents want to be able to contact their children, most important thing during major incidents is not to be distracted and not clog up cellular networks. RSU 14 discussing this, and if not, should we be? They're definitely discussing cell right now. Cell usage during the school day is during class time is not something that's happening, and there are schools have been working towards having students either having phones in their lockers, or if they happen to have them on their person, putting in secure places in the classroom. Kids are using the network and their computers definitely to contact, but kids are also very good at hiding phones on themselves. And we've also come across kids that have multiple phones and will turn in a phone, but will still have a phone. So definitely something to work towards, but there has been communication in the past. I'm not sure with what's been said so far is that during an emergency, having kids or families text versus using cell phones, which it actually uses far less bandwidth for emergency situation.
So, excuse me, my couple of questions. So you referenced kind of the pink sheets of the old sign-out system. Are we collecting any data with the e-hall pass system we did not collect on that? I mean, it's where they intend to go, what time they left, who the student is, and what room they were from, right? So
correct.
So this is the same information, just in a different format. Okay. Have you received feedback from any staff members? You talked about how you had connected with the administrators and how this is working. Have you spoken with any staff members who are actually using it in the classrooms? How it's going?
I've not. I've only had a chance to sit down with Vanessa and Phil and with Greg in the middle school, just to get kind of an idea. First of all, the dashboard, chance to work through it. biggest thing I heard as far as the high school goes is that I think staff are doing a little better job of kind of keeping each other accountable towards using it. A lot of the usage though is on the student side, then have a staff member approve. But I think the other conversation that schools are having is that unless there's an emergency or a kid really needs the restroom, let's keep kids in class instead of having them out and about, because it impacts everybody when that happens.
Okay, you talked about having a staff member approve it. So when a student is sitting in class and they send a request to use the bathroom, who does that request go to?
Goes to their classroom teacher to then head to the restroom to approve to say go.
Okay, and you talked about limits on how many people can be in a hallway at a building level. So the teacher approves it, but it's more than.
They don't have the ability to approve it if limits have been reached.
Okay, and you also mentioned the case of guidance sending out a pass. Okay, so the guidance counselor sends it to the student gets notified, they're allowed to leave. Does the classroom teacher then get notified that they are?
I believe that they do, that they have that, but I'll double check on that.
Okay. I think those are my only questions right now. So we ready to move on? All right, thank you very much. Next item is executive session. One, make a motion, please.
I move to approve going into executive session to consider the emergency response plan review with the district safety team pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056F.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Jessica Bridges?
Yes.
Cindy Butler?
Yes.
Judy Carroll?
Yes.
Caitlin Downs?
Yes.
Mark Maloney?
Yes.
Dark Newell?
Yes.
Joe Kellner? Grace Levitt?
Yes.
Christina Small?
Yes. Motion carries. We're in executive session.